Showtime. Good afternoon, everyone. We're back for another DFS NASCAR Cup show, the second of the Pocono doubleheader weekend. Dane, how's it going today?
It's going good. Ready. Yesterday was a little disappointing for me personally. There was obviously the Larson, he didn't really get there with
Yeah.
some of the strategy that was played. And there were some value plays. Custer and Newman both killed me. So wasn't a great day for me, but yeah, ready to get back at it today.
Oh, yeah, right on. So I've got the box score up here from yesterday, and yeah, you're right. I had Newman and Custer pretty heavily. Custer, I seen that one. That was Brad Keselowski. That was he was coming down. I don't know if it was a mix-up or what, but he pretty much took him right out of the race there. Hurt Keselowski overall as well. And then I kind of missed what happened to Newman in one of those other wrecks. But again, those two were hugely disappointing. I still look like I was doing all right going towards the end, but it never ended up going there. And I don't even think with Larson, even if he would have won on the sheet here for today, I've put the last two races with their DK prices, the last two, and the value. Only Bowman was the only driver over 7X. Kyle Busch, Ryan Blaney were the only two over 6X. And as you can see, there wasn't very many over 5. So it was a pretty low scoring total. I believe it came down to, no, that's the contest for today. I think it was like 295 points or something like that was the GPP winner. So it was pretty good there. So definitely go and check that out if you want. But we didn't see the dominators. That was my kind of big takeaway. As you can see over here under laps led, there was 16, 30, 13, 11. There was only one driver that led over 20 laps, and that was Kyle Busch in the race. So I don't know how that makes you feel today. Again, we've got an invert. So Bowman will start 20th, and then Chris Buescher. Was it Chris Buescher who finished 20th? Yeah, Chris Buescher starts on the pole here today. And then everyone outside the top 20 just starts 21st and all the way back to 38th where they finished yesterday. Any initial thoughts? I'm kind of looking towards a little bit more place differential. I think that's where we got to start our lineups today. Just with this being a shorter race, we got to take advantage of that. So again, we're probably looking for about 300 to 350 DK points for a win. Your thoughts initially?
Yeah, I mean, I wouldn't even say specifically that I'm targeting dominators today because there's so many of the guys who are probably going to lead laps that are basically place differential plays. And we, like you said, we saw it yesterday. It was spread out so much that it really just came down to more finishing position than anything. But today there's so many good drivers that are starting 10th on back, really, and some value plays that are in the very back. So I think it's a day that I'm not going up there and saying I'm limiting myself to 2 dominators or something. It's more of, like you said, the place differential.
Yeah, I think it's got to be about place differential. We go look at the price in here. Kyle Larson's still the most expensive. He actually went up 300 from yesterday. I guess let's start there. He's going to a backup car, so he'll start in the rear. So I think it's probably going to take him at least stage 1, probably even into stage 2 before he's really kind of back inside that top 10. I think he's going to be up there, but without dominator points, I don't think he's going to get there again today. He needs a win just to get between 4 and 5X without dominator points. And if he gets the win, I don't think there's going to be a lot of dominator points there. Like kind of like we seen yesterday, I think we see like 4 or 5 drivers get between 10 and 20, and maybe one driver get between 20 and 50, possibly. But with all the, like we talked about, the better drivers, the better cars, the better equipment, starting back with that place differential, I don't think we see a complete dominator of like 40 plus laps. So even if we give Larson 15 laps led, say 10 fast laps, that kind of puts him in 5X. So I just don't think that's going to be enough out of our top, what it's going to do to the rest of your lineup, because he's 1,800 more. So what's your opinion on Larson today?
Yeah, I'm kind of off of him. I don't know if I'm going to keep him in the pool with just a sprinkle, but it's going to be so hard for him to get there. Like you were saying yesterday, even if he won, he wasn't going to be in the winner, because I checked it when they were basically going around that last lap. I was like, who's on the winning team? And he was not on that team, whoever it was, until he got knocked back to 9th. So he just didn't have enough dominator points. He rode, it felt like, in second most of the day, second or third, or got filtered back because of strategy. That's that's the big thing of why it got spread out yesterday. There were so many teams on different strategies that half a stage would be one group up front that hadn't pitted, and it just decreased the dominator potential for a lot of guys.
So there, you can see on the screen now, that is my complete disaster Kyle Larson and Elliott bill that I talked about yesterday. It finished 4,278th, but if I was actually coming to this page not to make fun of myself, but whatever, is to look at the winning lineup here. So we had both Bushes in there, Byron Bowman, and Reddick and Bubba ended up in there. So Kurt Busch ended up, that was kind of surprising to see him 5.6%. I think we talked about him a little bit more of a GPP pivot on him, but just the way things worked out, there's a little bit of, or quite a bit of low ownership in here. I kind of forget what Larson was there. I'll go back to my lineup. Oh, I didn't. That's not the right one. But either way, I think we go back to that again today. But the decision for me really comes down to, obviously, we've talked about fading Larson. Kyle Busch and Denny Hamlin definitely stand out. Truex is going to be tough. He's going to need to dominate. He's less than 2,000 less than Larson, so I think he doesn't need near as much to go right for him to be in the optimal lineup. But I think Hamlin and Busch, both showing that they've been good here, really good in the past, as well as yesterday. Hearing Kyle Busch say very nice things about his pit crew early in stage one, early in the race, was very rare. So being that it's the same car, I think the setup's going to be there for him again. So I really do like Hamlin and Busch. And with the contest selection, Kenny had mentioned in chat this morning that the $4 used to be it was the chrome horn yesterday. It is, I forget what it's called today, but it is $2.30 or something like that. So a lot cheaper to get into that 20 max. I'm going to try and do 20 lineups today. I've got about 8 done so far, and I'm going to go in a couple of 20 maxes with them. So far, it's Kyle Busch and Denny Hamlin. I've got that combination in about 50, going to be about 50 to 60% of my lineups are going to start with that core, and then I'm just going to mix in the rest of the guys that we're going to talk about here. So that kind of leads me into my first question I see here in chat, if we prefer Hamlin or Busch. And just simply because of the $500 price and a little bit more consistency, I would say Hamlin, but it's very close. On FanDuel, it would be Kyle Busch because he's $500 cheaper. So it depends what site you're playing, but I like both, and I'm going to have both a lot.
Yeah, I like both. I would prefer Kyle Busch over. Just he looked like the closest one to these Hendrick cars really for the last few weeks. But yesterday he looked really good. I thought we got the quote from Kyle Busch there when he got out of the car. The interesting one that is kind of what you would expect him to say of him, that they can't do anything overnight to get better, to beat the Hendrick cars. I thought that's pure Kyle Busch right there.
Yeah.
And then they literally went to Hamlin next, and he says, yeah, we can make some adjustments, and I think we got something for him tomorrow. Same exact team. It was just so funny to hear that. But, I mean, he was so close to them. And this track is all about track position. I don't even know if the car has to be better. If they just kind of get out ahead, we saw how long Bowman and Kyle Busch, for that matter, were able to hold off Larson, who had the better car, you could tell for sure. But they both held him off for quite a few laps. So starting where he is, 19th, I think he is a very good play, and he would be my favorite up here. Hamlin is the other top option, like you mentioned. Looked pretty good yesterday. From a speed perspective, the one that I am leaning toward fading is Truex. I wanted to see what you thought about the potential for him to lead early, because we don't have a competition caution. So somebody is going to be out front leading a portion of this race early. But we saw yesterday the top side of these on these restarts was really able to get out front early. So if you look at that, that would be, I guess, Christopher Bell would be the second on the top row. I don't expect either Buscher or McDowell, I think, who's starting second, right?
Yes, correct.
I don't see either one of them leading over those JGR teams. So what's your take on that? Who do you expect to lead early? It's got to be one of those two, right?
Yes, I would think it's one of those two. If you're looking for a really nice contrarian play on that. I think Christopher Bell is that guy. If you think he can get maybe if he can get to 20 laps led with say 10 fast laps, you're looking at 7-8x from him. Even let's just go 10 and no fast laps. You're still looking at 6x if he leads just 10 laps early. So he's got excellent. He should be low owned. He's going to, and he's got obviously pretty good upside for his price. A little more risky with Truex. I wanted to compare Busch and Hamlin and Truex here, with Truex leading, say, 20 laps, being one of those 20 lap guys. Yeah, so Busch and Hamlin still have much more upside, even if Truex is a dominator here and wins the race. Kyle Busch finishing third, and he's probably going to get some fast laps. So probably, let's say, a fourth from Kyle is the same as Truex dominating. And I'm calling dominating 20 laps because like I said, I think maybe two, maybe three drivers reach over 20, but I think we see a lot like yesterday kind of thing. If he does dominate more, great. Let's just give him 40. He's still not even reaching 6x at 40 laps led. So he's pretty much got to really dominate this race like we haven't really seen here at Pocono for him to hit his upside. So that just for me right there tells me making that decision easy to fade him and Larson and go with Busch Hamlin as kind of the way I've decided to go.
Yeah, I agree. I like that. Kind of, we talked through it and got to Christopher Bell as our, if we're going to target somebody leading early and for GPPs. I think we saw it last year in the second race. Some of the guys in that top 10, I think DiBenedetto was one of them, started in the top 10 after finishing right around 15th in the first race, and he was able to keep that track position a lot of the day. Correct me if I'm wrong on this, but
started 8th, finished 6th, and he had an average run of 8th the whole entire day. So he ran inside the top 10 all day long.
Yeah, so that's like the Christopher Bell play I see, because he was able to keep that track position all day, and people are going to be off of him starting 4th, and like we said, he has the opportunity with the cars that are up there to lead early, starting on that second row.
That's better equipment than the DiBenedetto had last year as well. And if you look at the stats here, I'm just looking at top 15 laps. He was tied for second most top 15 laps in that second race last year. So very impressive. So I think that is the way I'm definitely going as well. And that kind of leads us into this next question, Byron or Bowman, leads us right into that other range here we got Blaney, Byron, Bowman, and Kurt Busch all starting outside the top 15. We're all very good yesterday at Pocono. They've all got pretty good track history here. I would say Kurt Busch has the least consistent track history of those four, but I guess of those two, I don't know if it's Byron versus Bowman. I like playing them both, honestly. Those Hendrick cars, try and get as many as you can in your lineup. They show a lot of speed. That also leads me into another They're all four of them are going to take on ownership. That's going to really lower Christopher Bell. Love the Christopher Bell play here. If he can lead 10 laps early, even just 10 laps, he's got awesome potential at being in the winning lineup. And you could pair him with one of these four guys or both Byron and Bowman and go a little bit more balanced and just go up to Hamlin and maybe leave Kyle Busch out of your build. Another one, answering another question here, asking about any interest in Elliott. Stan says, I think that's another GPP play because we're going to see there's only so much ownership to go around, and it's going to be Kyle Busch and Denny Hamlin and Blaney and Byron and Bowman and Kurt Busch. Even Joey Logano and Kevin Harvick are going to take on some ownership. So that just automatically lowers. And if we're already fading Truex and Larson, I love Elliott and Christopher Bell out of this whole 8K and up range for low ownership GPP plays. Those are by far my two favorite pivots. I think they're going to both be low owned today.
Yeah, Chase should definitely be the lowest on Hendrick car, I would think, at 10-2 and starting kind of mid-range of where we're looking for him to dominate. I don't know if he dominates, but he did show speed just like the rest of them yesterday, and he had problems early on in the race and was able to fight it through. I was interested to see that they didn't go to a backup car after having that damage early on, but I guess they liked the repairs that they made, and they did show some speeds. My take on the Byron Bowman deal, I do like playing both together for sure. But I would lean Byron over Bowman if I had to choose one. I just really liked what I've seen from him recently and yesterday. He really looked like the faster one, maybe out of the whole Hendrick team yesterday. He was close to Larson for quite a while in that race. So I think Byron would be my choice there at 9,000. And how about DK just butchering these prices? I guess they've done them before we.
Yeah, they were out on the same time they released for the first race. So I think that was like late Wednesday night, early Thursday morning. So it's going to really lead us to the chalk. I think it's kind of like I mentioned. I really do think it's Busch, Hamlin, Blaney, Byron, Bowman for sure. Those are your top 5 ownership for sure. So I think we can really take advantage of that though. In GPPs and NASCAR is a great sport to do that. We've seen it over and over again. Look what happened yesterday. The Kyle Larson people probably thought, like I thought, he's at least going to, he maybe didn't dominate and going to hit his overall upside, but he's going to win the race and at least save those lineups. And blows a flat tire or blows a tire on the final lap. Like absolutely crazy, the stuff that goes on. So it's a great sport to make those pivots. And I mean, we're not making pivots to worse drivers by any means, going to Elliott and Bell. So I definitely like making a few change. I mean, you can go with 3 or 4 chalk guys, just make a pivot with 1 or 2, and then you've got a different lineup. So that leads me to the next question here. Can Bowman back it up? Personally, with this weekend being the way it is, this is the same car. So he took the checkered flag car, went into the garage. This is the same car. So I think he can. If it was not inverted and he had to start on the pole, I don't think I'd have any exposure whatsoever. But being that he's starting 20th, I'll take, like, if we just go look at the matrix real quick, he doesn't even really need that much. 5X, he needs a 10th place finish. He's been a top 10 car for sure, and he's hitting 6X at a top 6, so he doesn't even need a top 5, any dominator points, and he's giving you a 6X return. He won the race yesterday. He was fast. He maybe wasn't the best car out there, but he was definitely a top 5 car. So then you're looking at like 7X, possibly even 8X return. So I think we have to go that way. I think the scoring, because of what we just talked about with the chalk going towards these place differential guys, a lot of high ownership with all these top 5 place differential guys starting outside the top 15. I think the score gets closer to that 350, 360 today for a GPP win.
Yeah, it should definitely be higher with so many place differential plays for sure that can dominate as well. Dipping down, Kurt Busch is another really good play. Liked what I saw out of them yesterday, and he's starting 15th. I do still expect him to be chalk too. But going down past Bell, I think DiBenedetto is a good bounce back candidate here, 8,100, starting 32nd. And then Chastain is going to be chalk as well, starting 33rd. But it's really hard. He goes to the rear, but that's basically doesn't matter for him. So I think he's another really good play as well.
So going to the rear, I like this conversation. I mentioned it in chat before the show. Anyone that's watching this that isn't in our either over at RotoPros, our Patreon, Slack, our Discord, DFSR chat, that didn't see all these car numbers in red are drivers that are going to a backup car and starting in the rear. And like you said, it doesn't really matter for Chastain. He's already starting 33rd, so that's 5 extra spots, but he's got good equipment in the 42. Custer is starting dead last in good equipment in the 41. So I like those two. Regardless, I think they're both going to be high owned. Coming down, I think Newman's going to be high owned again. His price went down $300 on DraftKings, and he's starting 37th. I think top 20 for him, and you're still looking at good returns. Now, when you're looking at comparing him and these other guys, like obviously Priest and Alfredo will be fades for me from where they're starting versus Newman. They're not in near the same equipment. Same kind of goes for LaJoie. He's more expensive than Newman. It's the same place differential upside, but the equipment isn't as good as the 6. So Newman's going to be chalky again, I think, as well. So I think the pivots are tough. So I think you go with Newman. I think you can. He's cheap enough where you can really suck up 40, 50% on him and take a 4 to 5X return. And I think where you make your pivots today to make your lineups a little bit different are with the guys that we talked about in the top tier. And that could also take us in this mid tier and have some guys that are a little bit lower owned. Is that kind of the way you're looking at going and differentiating this week, or do you like some of these other lower guys?
No, and what makes it tough is that there's so many of them starting in the top 10. I think that, and how many times, if you run this race 15 times, how many times out of that are all these guys going to bust? I mean, Newman, what's he got to do to bust? Wreck again? I mean, if he finishes 20th, that's good value for where he's at, and he has upside for much more. So I don't really see how you get away from him at 5,500.
26th. 26th 5x. So the upside's too here. You cannot fade that.
Yeah, I don't really see how. But like you said, it is NASCAR, so probably don't lock him in. I mean, I didn't lock guys like that in, like him and Custer yesterday. I went very heavy on them, but don't lock them in so that you do have, if you're making 20, so you do have some outs if something like that does happen. I don't see any reason to go, I need every single lineup with him in it.
No, exactly.
Yeah. Chastain, like I said, is a good play. The other one I would say maybe as a pivot down here would be the two. I'm not really sure how high owned Austin Dillon and Reddick are going to be. I know Reddick starts 10th, but looked pretty good with speed yesterday, and that's the same team as Dillon. So I think he had some pit issues or something like that and finished 21st. So he got just missed starting on the pole, which would have took him completely out of play. And being sub 7K, I think those are decent options as pivots to guys like Custer and even down from Chastain. But you're going to have to play multiple of these guys in each lineup probably. So instead of just playing all chalk in every lineup, like playing Newman, Custer, and Chastain or something, maybe you mix one of those out to either Reddick or Austin Dillon. What do you think about Austin Dillon and the RCR team?
Yep, I think Cole Custer, like we talked about, Ross Chastain, I think they take a lot of the ownership in this, let's say 7 and 6K range. And then obviously down to Newman. So kind of right there in the middle, we can find some pivots as well. And it is very tough, but him starting 21st looks pretty good. Yesterday, I wanted to find him here. So he got up inside the top 10 at one point, average run of 23rd. He has had some finishes, top 15s here before, and at 6,600, which is just a great. We don't usually see him at that price. We usually see him in the mid 7s to low 8s. But we only need 33 points out of him for a 5x return, and that is like a 15th, 16th place finish, and I think that's most definitely doable. I think he can even get up, that 12th to 15th as well, which kind of gives him in that 6x range. I'll take 5 to 6x from a driver that's going to be half or even more of a discount in terms of ownership to Custer and Chastain.
Yeah, so Custer needs a 23rd to beat his 15th. And I think Austin Dillon has the upside that we saw from Reddick yesterday, finishing 10th. So if Austin Dillon finishes 10th, where's he at? 45 points. So Custer would need to finish 17th to beat him there, which I think that's the reason you're making the pivot. I mean, really, you're not playing Custer to finish in the top 15. You're kind of playing him because he's starting 38th, and you need a top 20 for him to really pay off for you there. So if you're playing Austin Dillon and you think he has a higher finish upside, the place differential doesn't hurt you as bad that he's starting 21st as opposed to 38.
Yep, I'm with you there for sure. I think, at first glance, I thought this race was going to be tough to kind of build around just with so much place differential. But now that we've kind of worked our way through this, I think there are at least 3 or 4 excellent projected low-owned drivers that are pivots off these guys that don't necessarily add a ton of risk onto your lineup. Like normally when we see, like 3 or 4 chalk plays, the risk that it adds pivoting off of them is huge. But because there's, more of them this week, I think the risk is lowered a little bit because we're pivoting to like almost champion. Chase Elliott, obviously a champion, but Christopher Bell, moving up the series pretty fast in terms of his talent. So making pivots like that, I think, are a good way. And Austin Dillon, of course, he's won some really big races. Daytona 500, Coke 600. He's been pretty consistent in the equipment that he's in. So I like that pivot as well. So I think there's a lot of options to go about and do that today. Ryan Preece at 4,500 on FanDuel. FanDuel, I'm building a little bit different here as well, just because of that. The pricing is about the same. When you're getting Alex Bowman at 9,500, Kurt Busch 8,500, Bell, again, if you want to make a pivot, Bell's an even better play on FanDuel because the place differential is worth even less than it is on DraftKings. So we don't need as much place, the place different. We don't need the place differential guys to have as bad a days for Bell to, outdo them, if that makes any sense. So I kind of like those guys over there. Even Chase Elliott at 11K is a nice pivot again over on FanDuel. I don't think we need to go down to that range, honestly. And I don't like Priest starting 23rd. I don't even think he finishes where he starts. I think he's outside the top 25. Like, he just hasn't really shown much that he, if Chris Buescher, guys like that were starting 23rd, I consider Ryan Newman, even Corey LaJoie in some instances. But average finish of 23.6 on the season. I just can't with Priest on any site because there's too much value. Look at Custer's only 5,500, Chastain's only 6 over
Eric
on.
Jones, I think you can go back to him.
Yeah, Eric Jones as well. He was on my list. He's only 6,500. So he's probably priced. I like him more on DraftKings. He's priced out of it a little bit on FanDuel with Chastain and Custer, because I think Chastain and Custer they've got top 15 cars and they're only 5,500 and 6K. So I only think you need one of those two, and then you can go with a lot of these upper tier guys and have a really balanced lineup of 4 other drivers that they have upside of top 5s, all of them, and winning. So I think that's the way to go rather than going and punting. I'd never really like to go down and punt on FanDuel. I mentioned it yesterday a little bit just because there's not as much place differential and it's more geared towards finishing position. So that's the way I look at FanDuel builds. Yeah, Haley. We need to check on Haley here. Liz mentioned it, and give me a second here.
Seemed like he was run, but I don't know.
Big Country brought it up in the Slack. He was in a wreck in the Xfinity race. I didn't happen to see it. Have you heard anything new about it since we started the show?
No, I've only saw 2 things. I've seen that he was cleared to race, but then I saw that Bob tweeted in the interview that he said it was going to be up to the Spire team to decide. So I've not seen anything since then.
Okay. Yeah, I'm not seeing anything new on his news feed since reading that, now that I'm scrolling back. So I guess we're just going to have to wait and see on him. But I would just fade. Just if you're building your lineups now and you're taking off or whatever, and you're not going to know, they might not announce it till closer to the race or whatever. I would just simply fade him. He wasn't on my list for this race completely anyway. Starting 27th. I would rather play LaJoie, even in a backup car, starting 36th, or of course, like we said, Newman or Jones. So he wasn't really on my list anyway.
What did you think of Joey Logano? I think he had an average run position of 8th yesterday, finished 7th, and he's another. I mean, he's got some place differential built in as well. What do you think of him at that price?
Yeah, like he was within that. What do we have? 4. We've got 7 drivers that had over 100 laps ran inside the top 15, and he was one of them, ahead of Kurt Busch and just behind William Byron there as well. So, like you said, that average run of 8th, very solid 5x return, 4.9x, and what is he here today? 97. So the price went up quite a bit, but he's starting 14th, which gives him more place differential than yesterday. So looking for about 48 points out of him up here. That's only a fifth with no dominator points. So he's going to be low owned, I think, as well. So I don't mind that play at all, Dane. And Briscoe, what's your thoughts on Briscoe? Kind of sandwiched between DiBenedetto and Chastain, starting out the top 30. Is he going to be a lot lower owned than those two, starting 24th?
I think he is going to be lower owned, and his average run position was 20th, it looks like, yesterday. Yep. So, yeah, I think you can definitely go back to him.
Got a nice floor for low ownership.
Yeah, I was trying to see.
And we got him.
Yeah, I like that play quite a bit at that price.
5x at 14th. 14th place finish gets him 5x at probably 8 to 10% ownership, I would think.
Yeah, Yeah, so that's got to be a quarter of Chastain or and half to Benedict, somewhere in that range, I would say. Much less ownership than both of those guys that he's sandwiched between, like you said.
And then Larson might be a good play due to fading. I don't think that. I don't think he's a good. People will be. I don't think people will be fading him. I think he will still see some ownership just because Hendrick's been good, but that price really limits his upside. He really would need to get up front and dominate and get 20 laps led. If he gets 20 laps led and 10 fast laps, he's just hitting over 5x when these other guys have that potential without any dominator points. That's a fade for me right away. Like he would need, obviously things have been going right for him. Maybe he does get up front and dominate 40 laps. I don't think I think the odds of that happening are very slim. I think the odds of him getting up front and leading 20 laps might be stretching it. But again, if that happens, that's only 5x return on him. When Kyle Busch or Hamlin with a win is right there in that same range, without that risk of needing those dominator points. So first of all, I don't think he's going to be low owned. That low owned. I still think he's going to be up there enough where it's not going to be a play where, okay, I'm going to go play him at 5% ownership, hoping that he does get up front and lead 20 to 40 laps, while maybe a couple of these other, maybe Hamlin and Busch, you fade those two and go with Larson and hope, both those two crash or something. That's a high risk scenario today that I will be not going with.
Yeah, I'm leaning more and more toward just Xing him out. Because like you said, it's going to be hard for him to be on the winner, even if he wins the race. I know he has a little bit more place differential than he did yesterday, 12 points more if he wins the race, I guess, but on each side. But still, if you look at the matrix, it still doesn't make sense if he's leading laps as opposed to what we think Kyle Busch can do.
Right. Because with the higher score, I don't think 5x is going to be enough from your most expensive driver on the slate. And for him to get that 6 to 7x, he would need a lot. And he's, I just don't think it's going to happen.
Yeah, we just need to make it simple. He's going to the rear. He has less place differential upside than Kyle Busch. And he's $1,800 more.
So I wanted to touch on a few PrizePicks plays. Things went terribly wrong right from the start with Newman yesterday. So I'm going back to the well here again today. I don't mind Bowman again. He just needs a 9th or better. Really think that's a solid play. Same with Chase Elliott. He needs an 8th or better. Blaney was solid at 31.5. That's only a 9th or better from him. I think that's solid. Kurt Busch again, 12th or better. Going down the board, getting pretty low, but 13th or better if you want to go with Bell. That would be more like a 4th play for me if you're going that route. So those are kind of my favorites, which would be Blaney, Bowman. Who else did I say there? Elliott, even Byron at 33.5, I think is solid. A 7th or better. These guys don't need a top 5, and they're all top 5 type cars at this track and recently. So those would be my top 4 PrizePicks plays for today as well. And then just kind of looking at the DraftKings build that I talked about, I'm going to be starting with something like this. Newman's going to be chalky. All these guys are. And like I said, I think we can make pivots off of some of these, but I'm probably going to run this 3-driver core probably about 5 or 6 times out of the 10 to 12 lineups that I have Busch and Hamlin together. Just because I want that 60%. If Newman's going to be 60%, I want to have 60%. I want to have the same amount as the field type thing. And then, like you said, with that other 40%, it gives you outs if Newman crashes. And I will have Newman with some Kyle Busch and Hamlin builds as well. But that's kind of the way I'm looking at it. How's your core build, 3 drivers looking at today, your main builds?
Yeah, I think my single entry build is going to be Kyle Busch. And I've not decided on the second one up there yet. I like Hamlin a lot, but I'm not sure if I'm going to go with him or maybe go the 2 Hendrick route at Byron and Bowman. I think that's an interesting one that I'm looking at.
Oh, yeah.
Kyle with Byron and Bowman. And then you can go down low. What do you have left if you plug in?
7,100.
Okay, 7,100. And then say you plug in Newman. How does that leave you?
Yeah, that gets you up to 7,900. So you get up right into that Chastain and Custer and
so that's where then
Benedetto.
Fairly chalk build. So maybe that's kind of the
Bell is there too.
Swap off of and play like Austin Dillon, and then you're up in the eights, I guess, again.
92.
92.
Up to Blaney or Kurt Busch or
that's
Bell.
That's a winner. So, yeah, that'll be my single entry build right there. Yeah.
I love it. It's very easy. Like, you can go with 3 or 4 chalk plays, like we said, and just take 2 guys that you think are going to be sub 10% that we talked about, that using the matrix, you can see potential of a 5, 6x return, even 4x if you're really down low here. But I think that's definitely the way to go. So we went over core plays. Oh, okay. We got one more question here. One of the HMS cars will win. Yeah, Chase could win it today, maybe Larson. Yeah, I don't think I'd be shocked if any of the Hendrick cars won again, because they've just been, it seems like a class of their own here lately, and it's all of them showing a ton of speed, which, for a while when we were seeing the Toyotas doing good, while Hamlin was consistent, everyone else was winning except for him. It always seems like 2 of the Toyotas are good and the other 2 are garbage, it seems like, races. So seeing all 4 of them, what they're doing is absolutely incredible. So Hendrick, for sure, I think that's just a place where, like your top team in baseball, you're going the top 4. I think you can definitely go that route. I maybe wouldn't go all 4, but definitely 3 of the 4. I'm not opposed to going that way. But myself, it would be without Larson today. I think the other 3 give you close to the same speed in the same equipment, less risk, and less money for your salary cap as well, with more upside, obviously. So I definitely like the 3 of the 4 of those Hendricks today.
Yep, I like it.
All right. Any more questions? Fire them off here. We went over PrizePicks, FanDuel, DraftKings builds, top plays, the Matrix. If you guys got questions on any of that, let me know. If not, make sure to go check out. If you are new to our videos, or you're wondering where you can find our content, head over to patreon.com. Roto Pros is going away at the end of this month. We are migrating over to Patreon. I've had a Patreon set up for quite a while. A lot of you know that. Dane has been with me for a while. Kenny has joined us as well, and Ryan as well. So we got our same 4-person team, but we are over on Patreon now, patreon.com/Jagerbombs. Right now it's $5 a month for one sport, $10 for all sports. You can lock in those prices because everything's going up July 1st. You can lock in those prices for a full year plus a 16% discount if you join today. We've got a lot of exciting stuff turning over July 1st. Also, my birthday, July 1st. So, Dane, I hope the present's in the mail. I'll go check like on Tuesday because it's a holiday here in Canada. So I'll make sure to get it early. It's probably Kyle Busch stuff.
Yep.
But definitely go check that out, guys. We're working on like a new free roll type thing, where we're going to have free rolls for every single sport that we cover throughout the week. It's going to be a point system, and I got some killer prizes coming along. I'm not going to let the whole cat out of the bag, but that's a little glimpse into what we're going to do. Okay, to win. My pick to win today is Denny Hamlin gets his first win.
I have two bets that I'll look at that are very good odds. William Byron 8-1. I really like that. And then a little farther down the board, Joey Logano 20-1. Showed a lot of speed yesterday for a guy who's 20-1. So I like both of those as outright winning bets.
Awesome. I am. Someone asked for my prize picks again here, so I put it back up on the screen, and then I'm just going to put in order of how I like them today. Actually, let's go. Blaney, Elliott, Byron, and Bowman. In that order is how I'm going about my prize picks today. Awesome. I'd like to thank you all for joining. Another good show. We will be back next week with Sunday. I'm not sure even what race is on the schedule yet or what time it is, but we'll be back with more live shows. We've been doing many more soccer shows for the Euros. We're doing more tennis shows. I think Wimbledon starts next week, correct?
Yeah, tomorrow. So the sheet's already up for that. I'll have highlighted plays on that sheet. Be sure to hop in and check that out. Yeah, Wimbledon starts tomorrow. Will be a fun one. Big prize pools out there too.
Yep, that's awesome. Appreciate your support, everyone. Questions, hit us up in chat before lock. We're going to go finish building our lineups, and we'll see you in winning picks later on today. Cheers.
Good luck, everybody.
Good luck out there.